I started hearing my own voice when I was alone, and it was the beginning of the end for my family. We were a family of 4, living a quiet, ordinary life in a small town. My father worked a stable job, my mother was a teacher, and my younger sister and I were content with our predictable routines. Everything changed when my father received a high-paying job offer in a new city. It was the kind of opportunity people dream about but rarely get, a chance to completely transform our lives. Overnight, our small home filled with an unfamiliar excitement. Hopeful conversations about the future replaced our quiet dinners, and my parents started making grand plans. Everyone, including me, believed that good days were finally ahead of us. With the help of a well-known realtor, my father bought a beautiful 2-story villa on the outskirts of the bustling city. From the pictures, it looked perfect. The walls were a crisp white, large windows promised endless sunlight, and a small, overgrown garden in the back felt untouched, almost forgotten by time. There was a profound quietness about the place that we saw in the photos, but we eagerly mistook that silence for peace. It was the house of our dreams, or so we thought. Before leaving our old home forever, we hosted a farewell party. The house was packed with relatives, friends, and my father's colleagues, all there to wish us luck on our new journey. Laughter echoed through the rooms, a sound that would soon become a distant memory. People kept repeating the same phrases over and over again, that our future was bright, that this move would change our lives for the better. I soaked in every word, believing with all my heart that our new life would be a fairy tale. A few days later, we packed our last bags and began the long drive to our new home. The weather was perfect. A clear sky stretched over us, and the roads were empty. Soft, upbeat music played on the car stereo as our old city slowly disappeared in the rearview mirror. Everything felt so right, so perfectly aligned. But just as we crossed the official boundary into the new city, a deafening bang shattered the calm. Both front tires had burst at the exact same time. The car swerved violently across the road before my father, his face pale with shock, managed to wrestle it to a stop on the shoulder. For a long, tense moment, there was nothing but the sound of our own ragged breathing. No one was hurt. A few kind locals stopped to help us replace the tires, and by evening, we were back on our way. At the time, we dismissed it as a bizarre coincidence, never once considering it might have been a warning. We reached the villa just as the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. It stood quietly at the end of a long, winding road, large and still, its windows like dark eyes watching our approach. It felt as if it had been waiting for us. That night, exhausted but happy, we ate a simple dinner on the floor of the empty living room and went to bed early. Around midnight, a soft rain began to fall outside. At first the sound was comforting, a gentle rhythm against the roof. But then, I heard another sound, faint but distinct. Tat, 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 tat. I assumed it was a leaky pipe, so I got up and checked the bathroom, expecting to find a dripping faucet or a wet patch on the floor. Everything was completely dry. Confused, I returned to my bed, and as soon as my head hit the pillow, the sound stopped. I drifted off to sleep, dismissing it as a trick of my tired mind. The next morning felt alarmingly normal, almost too normal. The neighborhood was unusually quiet. There were no children playing in the streets, no friendly neighbors waving hello, no movement at all. It was as if we were the only people for miles. Later that evening, desperate for some human interaction, I walked down the street and saw a few kids huddled together. I smiled and said hello, but their smiles in return felt strange, forced, and hollow. Before I could ask them anything about the neighborhood, they turned and ran away, as if I were a monster. That night, as I was drifting into the hazy space between wakefulness and sleep, I heard voices again. It sounded like a child, talking softly to someone else in my room. My eyes snapped open, and I sat bolt upright in bed, my heart pounding against my ribs. My room was empty, cloaked in shadows. I strained my ears, but there was only silence. When the voice returned, I didn't wake up this time. I was in that strange, dreamlike state where you can hear everything. I listened carefully, trying to place the sound, and that was when a realization washed over me that made my blood run cold. The voice sounded exactly like mine. "It was so nice playing with you," the voice said, its tone cheerful and innocent. "This is the best time I've ever had in my whole life." Instead of feeling the terror I should have A strange sense of comfort washed over me. The voice felt familiar, safe, like it was a part of me. It was my own voice, after all. I trusted it completely. The nights continued like this, becoming our secret routine. The voice would talk to me, play games with me in my dreams, and give me instructions. It would dare me to do small, harmless things. Go touch the doorknob 3 times. It would whisper, count the stairs on your way down. They were silly, childish games at first. Then one night, the voice dared me to make a small cut on my finger with a pair of scissors. I told myself it was just a dream, a strange and vivid one. But when I woke up the next morning, the cut was real. It was a fresh, shallow line on my index finger, stinging with pain. I ignored it, convincing myself I must have done it accidentally, not realizing I was slowly, night by night, losing control of my own mind. A few nights later, the voice asked me to go into my parents' room while they slept and bring something back. I don't remember getting out of bed. I don't remember walking down the hall. I only remember waking up in my own bed the next morning, my hand clutching something cold and metallic. It was my mother's favorite locket. That was when the fear finally began to creep in, a cold dread that settled deep in my stomach. But the voice didn't stop. It grew bolder, and then it crossed the line. It told me to hurt my sister. I don't remember making a decision. I don't remember the act itself. I only remember her shrill, piercing scream. My parents rushed into the room, their faces masks of horror and confusion, shouting my name. They thought I had done it intentionally, that I had lashed out at her in a fit of anger. I tried to explain that the voice wasn't mine, that someone else was controlling me, making me do these things. But the words sounded like madness, even to me. That night, the rain poured down in a relentless, unforgiving torrent. The voice returned, but it was no longer a whisper. It was louder, stronger, a commanding presence in my head. I attacked my parents with a strength I didn't know I possessed, a feral power that wasn't my own. They managed to restrain me, their hands shaking as they tied me to my bed. Their faces weren't angry anymore. They were utterly, completely terrified. The very next day, my parents took me to a psychiatrist. I was subjected to hours of tests. They asked me endless questions about my feelings, my thoughts, my dreams. After a long and exhaustive evaluation, the doctor sat my parents down and gave them an answer they were not prepared for. There was nothing clinically wrong with me. No disorder, no psychosis, no logical explanation for my behavior. Out of sheer desperation, my parents went to a nearby church, a last-ditch effort to find answers. The priest listened to their frantic story with a grave expression, and when they finished, he asked only one question: when did the voice begin? When they told him it started the night we moved into the villa, his face changed, his eyes darkening with a look of profound understanding. He told them the land the villa was built on had a dark and sordid history. Years ago, long before the city expanded this far, rituals were performed there, not prayers to God, but dark, twisted invocations to something else. What remained on that land wasn't a spirit or a ghost. It was something far more ancient and insidious. An echo. The echo was a parasitic entity, incapable of speaking on its own, and needed a voice. So it watched families, it learned their children, and it copied their voices with perfect, horrifying accuracy. That was why I was hearing my own voice. The echo wasn't inside my body, it was inside the house, learning me, mimicking me, preparing to take me over. The priest came to the villa that night and performed a cleansing ritual. He chanted in Latin, burned sage, and sprinkled holy water in every room. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, the voice in my head stopped. The silence was deafening. My parents untied me, and we all cried with relief, clinging to each other. We believed, with all our hearts, that it was finally over. But just before dawn, as a sliver of light appeared on the horizon, the voice returned to not whispering, but screaming in my mind with pure, unadulterated rage. You thought I was gone? The ritual hadn't banished it. It had only weakened it temporarily. The echo was bound to the land, to the house, and now it was angry. I don't remember moving after that. The next few moments are a blur of darkness and screams. I only remember my sister's face, her eyes wide, frozen in absolute terror. By the time my father reached us, she was gone. My mother tried to pull me away from her, screaming my name, but the echo used my body with a brutal strength I didn't have. She fell to the floor and never got back up. Before the sun had fully risen, another priest arrived, older, calmer, with an air of ancient authority. He walked through the blood-soaked villa slowly, his eyes scanning every corner, and said something I will never forget. This house is not haunted. It is occupied. He didn't try to fight the echo. He sealed the doors and windows, marked the walls with symbols made of ash and salt, and poured a mixture of holy water and oil across every threshold. He didn't try to remove the echo. He locked it inside the house, trapping it within the very walls it called home. For the first time in weeks, there was no voice. There was no rain. There was just a profound, empty silence. We left the city the next day. We didn't pack a single bag. We didn't say a single goodbye. We just drove away and never looked back. The villa still stands there today, I'm told, empty, silent, and waiting. Sometimes, when I'm alone in the dead of night, I still hear my own voice whispering to me. But now I know the terrible truth. It was never me speaking. It was something else. Something that learned how to sound just like me. And that's a wrap for today's story. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and lending me your ears. It truly means the world to me that you chose to spend your time here. I pour my heart into creating these stories, and knowing you're on the other side, listening and engaging, is the best motivation I could ask for. Your support is what keeps this channel going and growing. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider hitting that like button. It really helps a lot. And if you don't want to miss out on what's coming next, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. I've got so many more stories I can't wait to share with you. Thank you again for being such an amazing audience. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.